Hey, I am joined today by Justin Blackman, the creator of the Brand Voice Academy, Brand Voice Visionary. That's another one.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
one of the programs in it.
all
Yeah.
the brand voice things, if you're in the copywriting world, online marketing world, and now even the corporate world, and anything about brand voice, just you probably know Justin because he does all the good things there. That is wonderful. So thanks for joining me, Justin.
I'm happy to be here, man. It's good to be able to join you rather than still in the hole where I was.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Well, let's get into it. Yeah, we did some work together for a couple months with some mindset coaching. You want to just start off, tell us, yeah, what happened that made you kind of realize like, oh, I need some coaching, or like what was going on that even led you to maybe I need coaching in the first place?
Yeah, so I've been through all the coaches.
The
Not all of them, but
last one, baby.
I'm fixed finally. No, it's not like that. I know the value of coaching. I've been using coaches for a long time, just sort of going more toward group coach, starting with group coaching, and then moving more toward one-on-one. And I have worked with mindset coaches in the past, and have at first I was like, yeah, that's not for me. But then like I did a few sessions, I was like, oh yeah, this is the thing.
Okay. What
So,
what was
um,
uh all right, yeah, continue. I've got questions. Keep going.
yeah, so I had done like some stuff with meditations and realizing that like opened up the door to like, oh, there's more broken in my head than I thought. I'm the problem. Okay, let's try to figure some of this stuff out. So I knew that there was like root causes to things and had been opened up and exposed to it. And I'd done some deep work. I've done mindset before. And then I was just sort of at a point where um some of the stuff was still, or it was popping up again, but in a different way. And it was like I had gotten to maybe the root cause, but maybe there was a root to the root cause. And things were just showing up differently. I guess like kind of the problem, it's almost like with meditation, one of the common things, it's like you do meditation and then you feel good, and then you stop doing meditation because you feel good, but then you don't feel good anymore. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, I stopped doing the thing. So I just sort of wanted to um, get back into the thing and address everything that had come up since I had stopped.
Okay,
That was
cool.
a really long answer.
That's
I don't even know
great.
if I answered your question, but
No, it gave me now I have several things I want to follow up with. One being like, okay, you talk about like you did mindset work, but like the things kept popping up. Like what were the things? What was popping up? What was like potentially the root of the root? Like what was going on?
So employee mindset has always been a big thing of mine. That's part of the reason why I've hired a lot of coaches, because I kind of need to be told what to do sometimes. Um, and this, and it's been helpful. I do well when I'm told what to do. I sort of embraced the employee mindset rather than fight it, rather than like, why can't I do the thing? Sometimes I just know that like, hey, if I work with a coach, I'm going to get a lot of value out of it and it's going to be worth my time. So rather than look at coaching as like a failure, I now look at it as like, this is actually really valuable for me. So even just shifting those things. But there was still this like the after the final coaching sessions that I had with some other coaches, there was still this need and this desire to like want something more. And I didn't quite know what it was. So I was like, you know what, maybe there's more to this mindset stuff. And then you worked with a lot of my friends, and I've just heard some stuff, and people were like, you should talk to Brian. I'm like, all right. So we did. And like that just sort of opened up the door, and I was like, oh, there's more here.
Mm.
It's time to do the thing again.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. So you had this like there's this need, this desire for more that like you're kind of seeing, and then yeah, talking to other people about it, we hop on a call. So what made you want to like continue working with me versus like, hey, cool, good call, peace, I'll
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
on.
So we did the 90-minute session, and we stumbled on what we thought was the thing. And it was a big thing. So I don't mind talking about it. So there was this need for validation. We found that like the coaching and the things like that, it wasn't just searching for what I wanted to do, but it was to know that I was doing it right. And I needed someone to tell me, hey, good job. And yes, keep doing this. And it
Yeah.
was this confirmation, but it wasn't just confirmation, it was the validation. I wanted to know that I was good enough and feel that I was good enough. And there were elements to that. And, you gave me some advice and some tips, and I was able to address it, and it like disappeared like immediately. And I was like, oh, this is better.
How is it better? What did relieving the
Ah,
need for validation do?
well, there was this need to feel like I was good enough, and then I finally felt good enough.
Hey,
And it was like, okay, I can not worry about this anymore and feel good. And it was things that were showing up on the surface to be like, oh no, I know what this is. This is fine. I can address this. Like wanting to leave a legacy. That was sort of this motivation for me, but it wasn't the legacy. Like it is, but it was the validation that's underneath that. And then we addressed that, and I was like, okay, if we were able to fix that in 90 minutes, what else can we what else can
yeah.
we work on? Because there's more. There's always more. And it felt good, and I just wanted to feel lighter.
Yeah.
And I wanted to embrace the success that I was having rather than worrying about it.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. And that was I feel like that's a huge thing in the industry. And a lot of time, like the validation just gets wrapped up in like, no, but I want to make an impact. And it's like, and it's true. And there
Yeah.
is that piece. And there's also like the underlying, like, yeah, but I want to be a speaker actually because I just want the glory. Like I had that. That's actually a big part of my transition into a coach was I looked at my copy career and I was like, and I'm always trying to like, grow and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm just doing this to try and impress people who aren't
Yeah.
even paying attention and don't care. Like
Yeah.
it's just all this shit in my head. And I was like, oh, I'm just trying to like, be the successful copywriter. I don't actually care about this that much. And that's what led me to like, well, what would I care about more? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Because like I had these bucket list things that I wanted to do, and like you kind of brought that up again. You're like, well, what is it that you want to do? And I was like, well, this was on my list, this was on my list. And I saw how much I'd crossed off, and I was like, I think that was years ago. And it was like, okay, why am I still like chasing this thing rather
yeah,
than just embracing the fact that I did it?
yeah,
And it was little shifts like that that just allowed me to focus on where I was rather than just looking and gave
yeah,
me a chance to like turn back and be like, oh, look how far I've come.
yeah.
Um, and just enjoy the moment rather than worrying about the future.
Heck yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that happens a lot where people are like, "Oh, I need all these things," and it's like, then we actually look at it, it's like, "Oh, I've got 80% of the things that I want."
Yeah.
Like, I was so focused on like needing to look a certain way or whatever that, and
Yeah.
then yeah, and then you can build. What's that like to then build your business and like live your life from this place of appreciating what you already have versus like the chase for the next thing?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
What's that kind of shift like?
Oh, what's the shift like? I mean, look, it allows me to feel more confident that I think it's tough to put into words. I'm starting to see myself in the same way that other people see me.
Yeah.
Um, that sounds like braggadocious to say, but um, but like I'm seen as a fairly big name in the industry, and I was always just like, no, it's nothing. But now I can embrace that. Be like, you know what, I've done a lot, and I can appreciate where I am. I can accept the compliments. Um, I don't have to deflect anything, and it's nice. It's that validation that I was seeking.
Yeah.
Now I think I was getting it before, but I wasn't accepting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's a heck of a shift to like so much of again, the like what we want is already there, but we're yeah, deflecting it, not seeing it.
yeah,
That's really cool. I'm happy to hear that. And so what else were there any other like highlights, turning points, anything else stick out in terms of the coaching that so we got like, all right, get rid of need for validation, things
yeah,
become lighter, you feel good about where you're at, you're feeling more like a the big shot that you are, kind of embracing your authority and badassness. So
Yeah.
we got that going. Anything else?
Yeah. So then there was um, I have a slow process. And it's funny with the mindset stuff, I was actually able to process a lot of that fast. It was like, oh, wait, this is not the truth. This was something I was holding on to, but it's not the current truth. Like I'm able to switch that. But when I'm like, I have this when I'm building something, I do it slowly. I sometimes I can whip something out quick. Other times, like currently right now, I've been sitting on this idea for like 4 or 5 months about like this current thing that I'm embracing. And I wanted to do it slow and meticulous. And at one point that was driving me nuts. And then we kind of reframed it like, no, that's what makes me different, is that I care about it. And it's okay that I do. And whereas I was beating myself up, like I need to do this now, 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 you taught me to trust the process and also to have trust in myself. And a lot of my fears and concerns were the fact that I didn't trust myself to do it. And then you're like, well, look at your track record. And I was like, oh yeah, it's actually a pretty good track record. So I've had a lot of successes and a lot of wins doing it this way, even though it's not the way that I'm supposed to do it according to the books. Um, I do it my way and it works. And you taught me to have trust in the process, trust in myself, not the process, trust in my process, even though it doesn't look the way that it's supposed to, according to everything I've ever read.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that's, I mean, and that's being in our industry too, right? Online direct
Yeah.
response. Everyone just glorifies like the speed and the
Yeah.
overnight, make all the money in 2 seconds while taking a nap with a weird trick and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that gets in our heads of like, well, this is the way. Speed is,
Yeah.
it's glorified. So speed's the answer. Speed's where we all got to be. It's like,
Yeah.
it's great. you know,
It's,
meticulousness is great. Mastery is great. Taking your
yeah.
time on things is great. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to just be all speed all the time. There's other things
Right.
also.
And that like my initial success came from speed, the 100 headlines for 100 days, the writing for 429 different people over the course of 2 years. Um, that was speed. And I was good and I was fast and I felt alive. And then I was burnt out because of the speed.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny how our
So
industry also has that issue.
right. Yeah. And then there's the thing Kevin talks about. Actually, I think it was Dean Jackson who said that like the thing about burnout is sometimes you don't come back.
Yeah.
And I was afraid of that. And now I go slow and I'm just seeing it now. Like people are burnt out and me going slow and really caring about very specific things has actually reignited me. Like I'm not burnt out. I'm fired up
Yeah.
and it feels good. And it's like my emails lately, people are responding like you seem different. You're feisty. I was like, yeah, I figured it out.
Slowing down and trusting your process and letting that be your process. Yeah, I mean, that's like getting in touch with you and who you are. And it's
Yeah.
like the effect of that is then getting more lit up by what you're doing
Yeah.
rather than when you're doing it the way everyone else is telling you and chasing the speed and all the things. And then
Yeah.
that's, burnout,
Yeah.
less replies
Right.
and more like trying to, that's when you start doing all the tricks to get replies versus this. It sounds like it's more just like you're expressing just like your
I'm
ideas and beliefs and it's resonating.
I'm just writing half my emails lately don't even have CTAs on them, and I'm getting the biggest response I ever had. And it's like people care, and I'm writing about the stuff that no one is telling you to write about. And like I found what I care about, and I'm talking, and people are finding it interesting. And those who don't, they leave, and that's okay. I don't mind. I'm not concerned. I don't. Oh my God, the unsubscribe rate was I had 6 people instead of 4. Like I don't care. Like if they leave, they leave. I still don't like seeing it. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't cripple me.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to send emails. There have literally been a couple of emails that I sent, like, I don't know why I'm sending this, and I just do. And then they're the biggest responses I've ever had. And sometimes it's okay that I don't know why I'm writing to. I just have to trust the pull to write it. And that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's that is beautiful trust of like, yeah, I just, something about this makes sense. And I don't know what it is yet, but I don't have to know. Like,
Yeah.
you guys figure it out. And oh my God, it
It's
resonated. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the things that we did is we planned the calendar for the year, and I have it. It's right over here. It's March as we're talking about this, beginning of March. I'm already changing it. There's a reason why it's written in a whiteboard, and I don't feel bad. I haven't felt glued to this thing like, oh my God, I can't change it. It's, you know what? I think I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm just going to erase this week and move it, and I'm okay with that. I wouldn't have been okay with that a year ago. I would
Awesome.
have been like, oh, it's March and I've already screwed up the entire year. I was like, yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna do
that's
things.
like, I'm guessing that kind of ties back to that lightness of like, oh, let's just change and it's fine versus like, yeah, a year ago and it's like changing it and it's like, oh, now like it feels heavy and what's wrong with me,
Yeah,
all that stuff. And now
yeah,
because you're trusting yourself in your process, it's like, all right, we'll
yeah,
just
yeah. I mean, I'm literally supposed to be doing one of my largest launches right now, and I was like, you know what, I want to do this other thing because I feel the need to do it, and
oh,
I just moved my major
yeah,
launch.
yeah.
I had already started, and I sent out an email. I was like, hey, you know what, I'm going to pause that because I want to do something else. People were like,
Like you
cool.
had started your launch and then we're just like, hey, team, never mind. Like, guys, never mind. I'm gonna do something.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, hey, doors are going to open up in March. And then I was like, yeah, nah, you know what? We're actually going to push that to April because I want to talk about this.
That's gonna be so funny if that ends up like doing really well for the launch and then it becomes a fucking strategy for
Right. Yes. Look at this best practice. Look at how he manipulated this.
Justin
No.
Blackman false start launch
Right.
strategy,
Yeah. The
baby.
false start launch. Yeah. No, that's not a thing. This is like, hey, there's a calling and I'm going to answer it and I'm going to do this thing. And if you want to watch, come on.
Yes.
And
Oh, I
then we'll do
love
the other thing later.
I love that. There's a calling and I'm gonna answer that. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, cool, man. I'm loving this. And I've got another idea of something I want to bring up. But first, was there anything else that stands out as like you know,
Um,
mindset shifty, anything that was insightful, like any other big changes that come to your mind?
no, it was, I think it was also nice to be able to own up to, well, recreate and reshift some of my boundaries between like even personal life and work life and just realizing that like not everything has to overlap and being able to separate those a little bit more.
Hmm.
Um,
How
that
so?
felt good too.
How so? What does that mean or look like?
I just know that like my life got a little heavy for a little bit
Mm,
and it was seeping into work, but I was kind of able to say like, hey, you know what? I can still do the thing. I can still show up for people the way I want to. And if I need a break, I can take a break. But I don't know. There was just something about the way that we spoke that um, it made me just show up differently um,
mm.
and be there for employees and be there for the people who needed me, or be there for clients and students, and also be there for the people in my life differently, as opposed to just having like a bad work day and it carrying over into home life, or having a bad home life day and it carrying into work. I was just able to separate things a little
Okay.
easier.
Yeah. So when you say show up differently, like what do you mean? What was different about it?
Um, I think I was able to compartmentalize a little bit easier,
Okay. Yeah.
and just maintain my energy for when I needed it, rather than just have everything bleed over into just one.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, it sounds to me like being able to like put work away, and if things were bad, like that grumpiness or whatever isn't like just then oozing into like hanging out
Yeah.
with friends and family or whatever. Like, okay,
Yes.
it's there, and now I'm like, uh,
Yes.
now it's family time. Great, cool. Let's do that.
Yes. We were able to contain the grumpiness ooze. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. My
Put the
coffee
jar in the
brain's starting to
bottle.
do things about its culture on that. God, sometimes it's just it's just a curse having this like thinking in terms of sales pages still, even
Yeah.
though I haven't done coffee for years. Cool. So, and the other thing I wanted to bring up, if you want to talk about it, if not, that's fine too. We kind of created a new offer out of nowhere.
Yeah, we did. So
It happens
it's
fairly often, and it's like, that wasn't on our schedule of like, here's the things we're gonna work through or whatever, right? Like,
yeah,
it was more like, let's get things mapped out, let's work on mindset stuff, and then like an offer just kind of came about one day, and I think we just spent a session on it, and then you went off and you got clients for it. And
yeah.
you want to just talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so we just talked about had this like lost sense of identity for a little bit where I wasn't really feeling like a copywriter anymore because I focused so much on brand voice. And then people were asking me for a copy, and I was like, I have a very specific skill that I can help some people with. And I don't remember all of the conversation, but you were kind of like, well, why don't you help some people with that? And I was like, well, it's narrow. I mean, I can think of a couple people, and you're like, well, why don't you reach out to those people and see if you can help? So, I kind of literally just did a very select coaching thing where I reached out to three people and said, hey, I'm thinking about coming up with something. And we actually used your model of like the weekly calls rather because like I had some challenges with other coaches where it was like you meet once a month. And if you don't do the work, they're like, well, what did you do last month? Nothing. All right, what are you gonna do this month? I don't know, probably the thing that I was supposed to do last month. And then like 3 months go by, you still haven't done the thing. The
Yeah.
way that you worked, you're like weekly calls, set schedule, like you feel this pressure to get stuff done. I was like, I like that. I don't want to do this multi-month coaching thing. Let's do 4 calls in a month.
Yep.
We created this quick structure that worked well. I invited 3 people to do it. I wound up getting 2. The other person just couldn't make it work. And it was great. And I mean, there was some learning curves for me on a coaching perspective, but I'm still happy with the results. The students were happy with the results. And it wasn't a ton of money, but it was nice. And it was something that I plan on doing more of after this next launch so I can focus again. Um, but it'll bump up my numbers for the year a little bit. And more importantly, it lights me up. I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing that just really stuck with me about it. Like it was just like a way to give people more Justin. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't like, oh, we got here's our unique mechanism and our promise. And it was just like, hey, like we got some trust. Like you kind of know what
yeah,
I'm about. You want more of this? And 2
yeah,
people were like, or all 3 of them were like, yep. And then
yeah,
2 of them were able to follow through on it. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it's funny because that happens a lot with clients. Like I just had one the other day, who like, yeah, thought her launch had to be this big thing, and then it was just like, how about we don't do any of that,
yeah,
and you just do this thing for the people that already like you and want this from you. You're like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. That was it. It was just like people were like, oh man, I wish I could work with you. I'm like, oh, sorry. Now I'm like, oh, actually, yeah,
Good
let's do this.
news. Sweet, man.
So,
Cool. Is there anything else?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty solid for me. Could you tell me? I did want to just go back to you talked about like you did mindset work for you before, and it
Mhm.
didn't really feel like your thing. And then this, like, what was the difference between that and this?
Well, I had done a couple of different mindset. I'd worked with a few different people, and some of it was absolutely amazing. I've had some great success with some people. Some were, like when I first got into it, I kind of got into the meditation, and that was like deeply impactful for me, and that's what opened it up. And then I did work with a mindset coach, and she was amazing and fantastic and opened things up. But then I just sort of stopped doing it. And
Okay.
then a few other people had talked to me about it, and it just didn't feel right. Um, some of it felt forced or it felt like they had an agenda. They're like, oh, you got this type of mindset thing. We're gonna work on that. And um, the I didn't want that because I was like, nah, I know what this is. Like I can fix that. I like there was some stuff, but when you and I spoke, it uncovered things that I didn't know were problems. Um, and that was the difference. And like the structure that you had with the weekly calls, that was different. And I was like, okay, this is going to get fast. And I like it. And it didn't feel like I was signing up for like a chiropractor, like, oh, you're going to need to come back every 2 weeks for the rest of your life. Didn't feel like that. And um, it just felt like when we started talking, there wasn't a plan other than to meet and talk. And we things popped up and we addressed it. You didn't have this path. Like today we're going to talk about money mindset. Tomorrow or next week we're going to talk about employee mindset. There wasn't this thing like this set schedule that had to fit into a box. We just went and we didn't. I know I didn't expect to go down to find the things that we found at the end of the path. Um, I didn't even know that this was a path. I don't think there was a path. We literally cleared it. We were sitting there with machetes hacking through my brain, just finding things. And I like that it was unstructured. It was scheduled, but it was unstructured. And to me, that worked really, really well.
Cool. Yeah, there was, and I mean, from my end of it, I always had like, okay, here are like the four main points of kind of like things that we
Yeah,
like agreed to at the beginning that we're working on. And like, is that the priority right now? Is there something else that should be explored right now? Keeping that flexibility, because a lot of times, like, yeah, that can be like the things we think we want,
yeah,
and then like what we
yeah,
actually need or what we want, like, it's very natural to like after a couple sessions, especially to be like, oh, I came in for this thing, and actually this other thing is really the important thing.
yeah,
Uh, so that's yeah, I like allowing space for that and to see what's happening organically because yeah, great. Exactly like you with this launch plan. Like, right? You had your launch plan and decided actually that's not it. We're doing something else right now.
yeah,
Kind of like allowing that same space with coaching, and then we're just organically uncovering whatever needs to be uncovered for that next step.
yeah. And I'm sure you probably did have some idea and some plan that that worked, but to me, it never felt forced.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
And
Oh, I love that. Sweet. So what would you say is like the overall, like how would you describe like maybe like a uh like if you give me a clip of like how did life kind of look before versus after? Like what does it look like that's the difference?
I mean, I there was definitely this fear of um this isn't gonna last,
Mhm.
like business. Like I'm worried all the time. Even when I have a good month, I'm just like, oh well, payment plans are about to end, and now next month I'm back at zero. And there was this
Yeah.
like, geez, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this, and this just feeling that it could all go away at any point. And then you kind of making me look back on my track record, being like, it could have gone away at any point, but it hasn't. You've always made it work. What's to, why do you think that it's not going to continue to work? And with discovering that lack of trust, realizing that like I'm going to adapt, I'm going to evolve. And even if what didn't work before didn't work, I'm still going to find something that will. And trusting that process and, or even kind of realizing that there kind of is a process even though it doesn't feel like there is one. Um, it allowed me to feel a little bit more comfortable. And even this pivot that I'm doing with the launch right now, I feel good about that. It would have been petrifying. I probably would not have done it before.
Oh,
Um, but I feel good. It feels important. It's getting a good response. Um, it just feels right, and I'm trusting it.
fuck yeah. Yeah, it's like there's it seems like there's just like a solidity and confidence of going through it rather than yeah, the fear and they're like, well, I need everything else to look a certain way so that then I can be confident, but even if it looks a certain way, it still might look that way tomorrow.
Yeah,
So like it's like we're constantly grasping for like security from the outside versus when we get that internally, then we can cruise along with our business and
yeah,
we're not so dependent on like what were the open rates today? Oh no.
yeah. But like, I mean, even yesterday, I was talking to someone in the business, and like my sales pages aren't they're not sales pages, and we came up with the term they're invitations with passion,
Yo,
and
that's cool.
the, because like I'm looking at the structure of a sales page, and I'm just like I could write this, but I don't want to,
Yeah.
and it's I can follow the best practices, and I'm not going to say that like I'm exempt from them, but I know that I can do it differently. I'll still follow. I understand the logic of the
Yeah.
structure. I'm not going to break the logic, but I'm gonna break the mold and the this. I'm gonna skip. I'm not that I'm skipping the steps. I'm just gonna do them differently. I'm still gonna get to the same endpoint, but I'm gonna take a different path to get there because that's what I want to do. I'm gonna take the long way.
Heck yeah. Um, Yeah, I think the world needs more passionate invitations. Less sales pages, maybe.
It's
uh,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, it's a book instead of a blog article. It's
yeah.
I'm just gonna go deeper.
Sweet. Yeah, I love the trust again for like that's your way. That's how you want to do things.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, man. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Where can people find you?
Well, the best place for these days is at brandvoiceacademy.com. That's where all my teaching workshops are. If you want to hire me personally to work with me, that's at prettyflycopy.com.
Yes, if you have any questions, struggles around your voice, writing in your client's voice, other voice things, go
All
to
the voice.
Justin. He's the fucking man for this. All his stuff is wildly raved about. And for more on me, head to McCarthyMindsetCoaching.com for mindset coaching for freelancers and entrepreneurs, to basically make that shift of like, scramble, stress, man, to like, hey, this feels good. Let's just keep going that way. That's what we're doing here. All right. Thank you very much, Justin.
Yeah.